So, doctor, I can finish in 40 minutes, no problem, or you want me to finish in less than the 40
لا
minutes?
لا you have an hour
So no.
and يعني try to budget يعني your time and yourself accordingly. Yeah. You
Sure.
have a whole hour.
Yes, because
We also have like we need to give like يعني up to 10 minutes for Q&A if people have questions they can always ask.
Yes, sure.
At the end, of course. We're expecting lots of people. Hopefully they come on time.
sure.
Is it Nagla or Najla?
Najla.
I want to make sure that my voice is يعني loud and clear. Can you guys hear us, everyone?
Yes, welcome.
Yes,
Yes,
it's clear. Sam.
it's
Okay,
clear.
good.
It's clear.
Okay.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Should we wait for perhaps 2 to 3 more minutes, yeah, Dr. Najla,
Yes,
for people to join? Yes. In the meantime, can our colleagues remind people, alert them that we're here? The EL111 WhatsApp group, يا جماعة. Dr. Rabab, can you do that?
Yes, sure. I'm already doing.
So, Rola, hi, how are you? We also have, I think, Maisa. Maisa, are you here?
Good evening, Dr. Yes, I am
Yeah,
here.
good evening. Hi, how are you? And Dr. Khalid, of course.
Alhamdulillah.
And Dr.
Good
Muhammad.
evening, Dr. Sama. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Paula. Hi, how are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Right, let's get started. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Dr. Sameh Abdel Jalil, and I would like to welcome you to our is it final or last? I don't know. I always confused between the two. This happens to be, this marks the end of our online Pavilion activity or activities. It has been fun. It has been very engaging and very vibrant. Thank you for attending. I know it's a difficult time. You're juggling different tasks, and we appreciate that. Tonight, inshallah, we have a very dear guest. I mean, Dr. Najla Al-Deeb has been a friend of mine for perhaps the past 15 years. We have collaborated and worked together on a number of projects. She has been very inspiring. Her trajectory and her career is as inspiring. So I'll keep it short and sweet and say that she has 2 masters, one in literature and the other is in translation, and she has a PhD in Quranic studies from Wales. Thank you, Dr. Najla, for giving us this opportunity to know you more, to learn from you. Yeah, let's listen to what Dr. Najla has to say about the different interpretations of Qur'an and the different nuances that would go into it. Dr. Najla, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sameh, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this important topic. It's an honor to be here today to share insights and engage in this meaningful discussion. I'll be covering 3 key points in today's presentation. First, the implications of the brevity in Quran translation. Second, a brief overview of the history of Quran translation. And third, some examples from various Quran translations. And then I will conclude the session with a summary of the key takeaways. Is brevity really the soul of wit? William Shakespeare wrote this saying, we can say, or proverb in Hamlet: brevity is the soul of wit. It means, or he meant to say the meaning that if you have something to say, keep it short. Don't elaborate and make it short. In Arabic, it can be translated as خير الكلام ما قل ودل. But can we apply it universally to everything, even in translation and even in Quran translation? In translation, this raises the issue of whether shortening or simplifying the original language sacrifices essential meaning, context, and cultural layers. So today I have an argument. I argue that the complex linguistic structure of the Quran, its historical and cultural context, demand a translation approach that focuses on accuracy and depth.
Dr. Najla, you're not sharing. If you have a presentation to share, you're not sharing.
Really?
Yeah.
I shared it. Okay, let me. Oh my God, I shared it when we started, Dr. Sameh.
You shared it with me earlier, but not with everyone.
Dr. Sameh, can you share it from your side?
Yeah, let me see if I can. Yeah.
I don't know why, but it doesn't give me this sign to share.
طيب ما فيش مشكلة إن شاء الله. Let me see if I can. This is yours, right?
Yes, doctor.
I'm sharing it now.
Okay. So, yes, you can move, doctor. Yes, this slide also we are done. Yes, and the following one. The argument. Yes, okay, the following one. Okay, the argument. So today no, the one before, Doctor. Today I argue that the complex linguistic structure of the Quran, its historical and cultural context, demand a translation approach that focuses on accuracy and depth, an approach that prioritizes keeping the meaning, the accuracy of the translation over its brevity. Okay, so can you move, Doctor? So before starting and before going to the findings of this argument, okay, Doctor, the following slide, please. Okay, I'd like to give yes, a brief overview of the history of Quran translation. Okay, because the reasons behind translating the Quran often dictate the approach taken. So we can start from the time of Prophet Muhammad. Quran translation began during the time of Prophet Muhammad for both political and religious purposes. In the year 615, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib interpreted the first 4 verses from Surah Maryam to Negus al-Najashi, the king of Abyssinia, known nowadays as Ethiopia. Ja'far's translation aimed to persuade Negus to grant refuge to Muslim immigrants and to protect them from the persecution of the Quraysh, or this tribe. Another early partial translation was in year 884 when Salman the Persian, or who was known as Salman al-Farsi, when he translated Surah Al-Fatiha into Persian, so it could be recited in prayers by Persian-speaking Muslims. Okay, can we move, Doctor? The first complete versions of Quran translations actually were produced between the 10th and the 20th century by Christian priests. So there were some political, some religious, and some economic reasons also behind these translations. These priests were seeking to understand Islam, the religion of the Ottoman. In the 12th century, specifically in the year 1143, the French priest Peter the Venerable, head of the Cluny Abbey in France, argued that Islam shouldn't be opposed through violence, but through reason. And following this concept, the Quran was translated into European languages. Actually, at that time, it was translated into Latin. And these translations followed 4 main paths: from Arabic into Latin, from Latin into other European languages, and from Arabic into European languages by Orientalists, and from Arabic into European languages by Muslim scholars. Okay, Doctor, the following one. Yes, Doctor, the following slide. Dr. Sameh?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So as we said that the first Quran translation was in, the complete translation was in the 12th century, and it was by priests. They wanted to, actually they use it during the time of the Crusades, their missions to spread Christianity, and they wanted these translations to spread Christianity actually. But what happened that more people converted into Islam, so they kept this translation for 100 years. Okay, and in the 15th century, this Latin translation was translated into other European languages. And in the 17th century, Alexander Ross produced the first Quran translation into English. And as you can see, the cover of the translation here, okay, he wrote that this translation was indirect translation, translated from French to English. Actually, Alexander Ross didn't speak Arabic and didn't know how to read Arabic, so he translated this Quran translation, the first English translation, from French. And he wrote that, or he chose the title of the book, The Quran of Muhammad. And in his introduction, in his preface, in his footnotes, he kept on saying that this Quran was invented by Muhammad. And on the cover, as you can see, he wrote here that newly Englished for the satisfaction of the desire to look into the Turkish vanities. So this takes us to the power of paratexts in Quran translation. If you can move, Doctor. So when we talk about paratexts, we have two set of tools, paratext and epitext. Okay, the following slide, Doctor. The paratext, as we can see from the cover of Alexander Ross, we are talking about the cover, the title, the preface, the introduction, using footnotes, appendices, okay? While epitext, so things beyond the text. We can talk about interviews with the translator, conversations, correspondences. We are talking about biographies or reviews on it. When we go to the, you can move, Doctor. When we go to the preface of the translation by Alexander Ross, we can realize that from the first sentence here, when he wrote, I know the publishing of the Quran may be scandalous to the higher power. So at that time, having or owning a Quran was forbidden from the authority, and translating the Quran was forbidden, and nobody was able at that time to publish any translation or to publish or any Quran. So he started by saying this, okay, to send the message, because the paratexts or the paratextual tools can be used by translators to send messages to the readers. And the first message, that this is a taboo, or this is not the book that we want you to read, but it is the book for us to show you how the Turks and the Ottomans were bad people. And he kept on also talking about the Turks, and they believe in the one God, and the punishment and death, and these negative messages that from the point of view the Quran is sending. And he also added in the preface of his translation that this is a dangerous book, and people who are educated, intelligent, have strong faith in Christianity and their religions are the only ones who are able to read this book. Otherwise, the weak ones, the ignorant ones, might convert to Islam. Can you move, Doctor? Okay, so what was written about this translation, the reviews about this translation, that it was biased against Islam, against Prophet Muhammad, against Muslims, while only two, I went through a thorough systematic literature review while I was doing my PhD, and I found only two articles saying that Ross was faithful to the French translation of the Quran, or Quran translation in French that he translated. So it might be this bias not from his side, but from the translation or the book that he used and he built his translation on. Can you remove, Doctor? Okay. The second Quran translation into English was in the 18th century. So you can see starting in the 10th century, but not complete, published in the 12th century, kept as a secret and taboo till the 15th century, then one translation into English in the 17th century. So you can see the timing for hundreds of years, keeping it, then going back and translating it whenever they had political, economic, or religious reasons. And you can see from the title also how Sale made use of the paratextual tools or devices by having this title, Qur'an, the Al-Qur'an of Muhammad, translated into English immediately from the original, because before, as I told you, the first translation was to Latin, and many translations were from this Latin version into other European languages. But this one, he went back to the Arabic one and he translated into English. And you can see also the addition that he added into the title. Can move, Doctor. Okay, Sale's translation, actually, he rendered his first edition, as we said, naming it the Quran, commonly called the Quran of Muhammad. And he explicitly declared that the Quran was invented by Muhammad. And we can say that Alexander Ross wasn't a Muslim, George Sale wasn't a Muslim, and he kept on reminding the reader that it was invented by Prophet Muhammad and not a revelation from God like the book revealed to Christ. And this comparison between Islam and Christianity was there in the footnotes and even in the text. These elements in Sale's translation imply his desire to show the superiority of Christ over Muhammad and Christianity over Islam. And one of the actually well-known scholars, Lawrence, argues that Sale was publicly more malicious or more attacking to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and to Islam more than Ross. You can move, Doctor. Okay, so during this time, from the 10th century to the 18th century, the Quran wasn't translated by a Muslim. And Al-Azhar, there was a debate in Al-Azhar whether to translate the Quran or the translation of the Quran is not possible. Al-Azhar declared that the language of the Quran is unique, and its style cannot be imitated because it is neither prose nor poetry. Thus, they concluded that it is inimitable to translate the genre of the Quran, because no one can give the same meaning, the same message, the same core of the Quran. In 1930, the rector of the University of Al-Azhar, Al-Maghnani, said that the Arabic Quran is the Quran, and any translation of the Quran is merely an interpretation or an attempt to understand the meaning and the message of the Quran. And it was only in the 20th century, in year 1932, that Al-Azhar issued a fatwa that Muslims can translate the Quran. It is permissible, but it is permissible by Muslims. Okay, yes, move, Doctor. Okay, so we can see from this time, the 20th century, the number of Quran translations increased. Okay, and we have now many translations. But do you think they are the same? Do you think that they are all brief, or some of them are longer than the others? Do they give the same meanings and the same messages? Okay, move on, Doctor. The following slide, please. Okay, so as we said, the Quran, according to Al-Azhar, Quran translation is the interpretation of the meanings of the Quran. And they decided that the Quran translations are forms of tafsir, exegesis. And these tafsir range from tafsir bil-ma'thur, or the traditional one from al-Sahaba wa tabi'in, or rational exegesis, tafsir bil-ra'i, al-ta'wil, or we can interpret it like I had an interview with some translators. One of them is Khattab. I'm using his translation here, and he told me that he studied at Al-Azhar, and he is Ash'ari Maturidi. However, in his translation, whenever any verse saying that Allah has the face, he says Allah has a face, Allah has a hand, Allah has a leg, he says. But actually, when I worked on his translation, I found that his theological tendencies and beliefs were in his translation. He said it, but he wasn't consistent in his translation. So we have such approaches in Quran translation: tafsir bil-ma'thur, tafsir bil-ra'i, and linguistic exegesis. Some translators rely heavily on the language, and they translate the language as it is. And also nowadays we have contemporary translations. The translators apply hybrid approaches. You can move, Doctor. So now we will go to our question. Should we make the translation brief, without footnotes, without additions, or some cultural specific items need to be explained in the translation for the readers? So let me ask you, who are the readers of Quran translations? They are non-Arabs, newly Muslims, the Muslims who convert into Islam. They don't know Arabic, so they need these translations. So we need to make the message and the meaning clear for them. So one of them, we can say, culture-specific items, al-zahar, in Surah Al-Mujadala, الذين يظاهرون منكم من نسائهم ما هن أمهاتهم. So here, يظاهرون, if we translate it for the non-Arab or non-Arab speaking readers, they might not understand if we don't give some footnotes, some additions in the text itself. Okay, so let's see Khattab here. When he translated al-Zahar or Yuzahirun, he said, those of you who sinfully divorce their wives. He made it clear that this is a type of divorce. Okay, and this was in the past by comparing the wives to their mothers. And he added that they should know that their wives are not are in no way their mothers. So this addition made the meaning clear here. Also, Hilali and Khan added a footnote, and they used something we call it interpolation. And interpolation is adding some words in different language in the translation. So the translation here is from Arabic into English, so we expect it to be all in English, but they use the word al-Zahar in Arabic, and even in the footnote also in Arabic, as if they are trying to teach the readers the word in English and in Arabic. So they said that, or they guided or referred them to verse 2, saying that Zahar is the saying of a husband to his wife, you are to me like the back of my mother. And they added between brackets, this is an unlawful for me to approach, which means that I cannot approach you, and this more or less in their meaning and their addition and their footnotes is a type of divorce. Halim also added a long footnote explaining that this is not only a cultural specific item, also it is a historical event actually, because in the past, they didn't have the marriage as we know nowadays, and he explained that the pagan Arabs used to separate themselves from their wives by saying, "You are to me like my mother's back," which deprived the wife of her marital rights. And he gave an example also by Khawla, the daughter of Thalaba, against whom such a form of divorce was pronounced, complaining to the Prophet. She complained to the Prophet, and he said that he said to her this al-muzahara, or this expression, "You are unlawful to him now." This revelation came as a result changing the rule about such cruel treatment to wives. So the explanation of the translator here made it very clear about the situation, its time, what they said, what the Prophet said, and what happened. But if you look at the last translation, Bakhtiyar actually wasn't a Muslim from the first place. It was she was Christian, and she converted into Islam when she was 24 years old. And in her translation, she didn't rely on tafsir or exegesis, and that's why her translation, if you read it, you feel that it is not as clear as the other translations. She said, "Those who say to their wives, 'Be as my mother's back,' they," and because of her upbringing in America and such thoughts of such feminist perspectives, she used to put the letter F beside any noun or pronoun that refers to women, although it is clear that here they refers to the wives, but she added the letter F. They are not their mothers, but be as my mother's back. What does it mean exactly? Is it a kind of divorce or not? It is not clear from her translation, because in this translation it is very brief, and we needed more explanation for this culture-specific item to be understood. Can we move, Doctor? Okay, so here we can say it is important to explain the meaning of the culture-bound terms, like the one that we explain now, Yuzaharun. Now we'll have another one, but going back to Yuzaharun, for Khattab, he applies a functional equivalent and chooses the word divorce, whereas Halim uses a descriptive equivalent and a footnote. On the other hand, Hilali and Khan use transliteration, interpolation, which is the insertion of the Arabic word al-Zahar, al-Zahar in the target text, and they use footnote. In their footnote, they explain the meaning of the problematic term al-Zahar or Yuzahirun, and give insight to the source culture. They do not make it clear as Halim and Khattab, but at least it is understood and clearer than Bakhtiyar's translation. Another term here, إن الذين جاءوا بالإفك عصبة منكم لا تحسبوه شرا لكم. So al-ifk as a term actually, and this story based on the Shia exegetes, the Shia exegetes actually do not regard the ayahs in this surah, ayahs from 12 to 20, as direct reference to Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet's wife. However, other exegetes such as Al-Mu'tazila, Al-Ash'ira, Al-Sufa or Sufis, and those who apply the philosophical approach in translation argue that these verses, specifically this verse 11, which includes the word al-ifk, refer to Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha. So here you can see that in Khattab's translation, he used a footnote. He used the word slender, and he said this is referring to an incident where the Prophet's wife Aisha was accused of adultery, and he explained more in his footnote. And Hilali and Khan also used interpolation as usual by using the word radiallahu anha sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as if they wanted in their translation to teach the readers such phrases. And in their footnote, they referred the readers to Sahih al-Bukhari and to a hadith, and one of them is a hadith number 274. And they mentioned also the story of the slander against Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Halim also added a footnote explaining using the word al-ifk for or used accusation for al-ifk, and he added footnote that this alludes to the accusation of the unfaithfulness made against Aisha, the Prophet's wife. But when we go to Bakhtiyar, as we said, she didn't rely on tafsir or exegesis. She said, truly those who drew near the calumny are many among you, but the meaning is not clear, at least for me. I don't think the meaning is clear, but also it reflects her Shia tendencies and her Jafari beliefs. Actually, in her translation, in her preface and introduction, Bakhtiyar referred to this, saying that her interpretation is based on the Jafari interpretation of the Quran, and we will see this in her translation of other verses. Can we move, Doctor? Okay, so here also this verse from Surah An-Nisa, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى فَأَنكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Actually, this verse is not to urge men to marry more than one woman, but this verse actually was for the sake of dealing with the orphans, to have mercy on them, to give them their rights as the other women. And here in this translation, we can see the different choices, but we can see also that Khattab, Hilali and Khan and Halim used footnotes, and these footnotes actually are very helpful for the contemporary reader nowadays, because this was actually, especially when we talk about ma malakat aymanukum, and this was a historical issue. It was before Islam, even at the time of Islam. Islam came and people used to have slaves. Islam didn't bring this concept or this practice in the community, but it was before. And also marrying more than women, it was before the Islam. And we read about different prophets who had many wives. But the addition of Khattab here was very helpful actually, or is very helpful actually. Khattab said, marry other women of your choice. And in the footnote, he said, the Quran is the only scripture that says marry only one. Unlike any previous faith, Islam puts a limit on the number of wives a man can have. Under certain circumstances, a Muslim man may marry up to 4 wives, as long as he is able to provide for them and maintain justice among them. Otherwise, it is unlawful. I can see that this addition is necessary actually nowadays in our communities where we don't have slaves. where people don't accept, especially women do not accept the man to have more than one wife. So here he stresses that we have some circumstances that we have this, and it is better to have one if you are not able to be fair with them. Also, Hilali and Khan added some textual additions here to make the meaning clear. And they also said, then only one or the slave that your right hand possesses that is nearer to prevent you from doing injustice. Halim also added footnotes saying this is a widely acceptable interpretation when he said here, if you fear that you will not deal fairly with orphan girls. So he says this is a good translation, yani interpretation of the surah. You may marry whichever other women seem good to you. And also for the part that then marry only one or your slave, he said literally what your right hand possesses. And he also added in the same surah in another context or in another ayah that Islam says or urges men to have only one wife if the man can guarantee that he will be fair with more than one wife. If you see the translation, Bakhtiar's translation, she added here, marry who seems good to you of the women who have orphans. The addition of the women who have orphans here can show the Shia beliefs or the theological tendencies that Bakhtiar has. So the additions here, or when the translation is not brief, it gives us more information about the culture. It gives us more information about the history. It gives us more information about the tendencies or the theological tendencies of the translator, which needs to be actually needs to be explicitly mentioned in the preface or in the introduction, anywhere in the book. The translators need to make it clear for the reader what theological tendencies or beliefs they have. Okay, so Bakhtiar limits the other women that a caretaker might marry to women who have orphans, and this interpretation is based on the Ja'fari interpretation of the Quran, which says that Islam commands the marriage of widows who have orphans to preserve social solidarity, and this interpretation is approved by Kamal Al-Husseini, Haidari. He is a grand sheikh, Shia scholar in Iran, actually. And in this Torah, he addresses the caretakers of female orphans who fear to fail in giving the orphan girls their care dowry suitable for women of their status. Encourages these caretakers to marry other women if they fear that they might deal unjustly with the orphan girls. And Al-Haidari and Al-Suyuti also state that God orders people who fear not to be fair with the orphans if they marry them to marry other women, as they can marry one wife or two or three or four wives of their bondwoman. And in her preface, Bakhtiar states that she lived 9 years in a Ja'fari Shia community in Iran. Thus, this might be the reason that she resorts to the Shia interpretation, because people's religious ideologies actually are formed in their societies. Okay, can we move, Doctor? Okay, so going back to our argument and whether a Quran translation should be oversimplified or brief, we can say that the principle of brevity doesn't always apply in Quran translation. Because the Quran has, we can say, Quranic specific language, a language or genre specific for the Quran and style which we find only in the Quran, where the complexity and depth of the original text must be preserved. The cultural specific items, the historical concepts, we can say, or events. So reducing the Quran to simplified versions risks losing crucial cultural, spiritual, and theological differences between or from the translators. Therefore, translations must prioritize accuracy, depth, and following the context of the surahs and ayahs, ensuring that the full richness of the Quranic messages is maintained and deeply understood. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Najla. Can you guys hear me over there?
Yes,
Yes,
Dr.
ma'am.
Sameh, if I may, please.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, we will have enough time for Q&As. So if you guys have any questions, come to the mic and share with us. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, Dr. Sameh, I just want to thank you for this great initiative. And Dr. Najla, thank you so much for this great presentation. Actually, it's an interesting topic, especially we are in the holy month of Ramadan. So it was really interesting. And all the points that you have mentioned were really great and enriching for every one of us. Thank you so much. We always actually hear good stuff about you from Dr. Sameh, and we were lucky enough to see you tonight. So thank you so much, Dr. Najla. Thank you so much, Dr. Sameh, and
Thank
may
you,
Allah
Ms.
bless you
Fatima.
all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fatima. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. If you have questions, come to the mic and share.
Can I just thank both of you
Yeah.
actually for this interesting really event? It's a very deep topic, wallahi, Dr. Najla. And mashallah, it looks that you have read different translations. I just begin by thanking you for this lovely topic, especially as the colleague has just said during, and it fits the time actually. I just have a question, if you don't mind. Which
Sure.
of these translations would you recommend to someone who newly converted to Islam? Which of these
Actually,
translations?
yes, I liked Khattab's translation, maybe because it is a recent one. He translated in 2019 actually, and he had some additions. He improved it. He relied on a very big team of translators, linguists, and people who are specialists in fiqh sharia. So his translation actually is a good one, and in his translation also he considers some contemporary issues like ecological issues. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر. He was the only one who translated in a way that I liked actually. Most of the other translators relied on making sin, committing sins, being punished, and facade from this angle. But he considers our time and our issues actually. Yes, I like his translation. Khattab, Mustafa Khattab.
And it's for sale, I guess. And
Yes.
people can easily find it.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nazla. Thank you, Dr. Sam.
Thank you, Dr. Rabab. Thank you so much.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Evening, Dr. Najla.
Alaykum salam.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Dr. Sameh. Thank you very much, Dr. Najla, for delivering such a valuable and enjoyable workshop.
Thank you.
I like the presentation style, which made the complex content accessible and enjoyable. The topic itself is fascinating, especially when considering whether brevity helps or hinder understanding. And the Quran is known for its richness in meaning.
Mm.
Translation it concisely while keeping its message intact is a challenge, I think.
Yes,
So I
yes.
have two questions. Are there times when a longer or detailed translation is necessary to fully understand the message? Or is brevity always the best way to translate?
Mm. Okay.
I
Uh,
have, yeah.
should I answer?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so as I mentioned that when we have culture specific items like zihar or slavery or some terms that are understood in the text are understood by Arab by the Arabs or people who are familiar with this culture at the time of Prophet Muhammad. So it is necessary actually to add some footnotes or to add some additions, the short ones in the text between brackets or parentheses. Yes, so this is one. Another thing also, based on my reading to many translations, actually I realized that some translators are not consistent in their theological or their presentation of their theological beliefs. They swing between Ash'ariyya, Maturidiyya, Salafiyya, Sufiyya. So I can say that translators should pay attention to the specific theological tendencies that they have, be consistent, mention it in the preface or introduction, introducing the new Muslims, the non-Arab ones, to such in different interpretations. Okay, so no harm to apply القول بالمأثور أو بالرأي أو to have a hybrid approach, or to apply a Shia approach or Sufi approach. No harm in this. I don't say no. We have all of us or all the translators. They have to stick to Salafiyya or القول بالمأثور. No, but they have to be clear and they have to mention it and they have to focus on the historical topics or points that we do not have them nowadays to explain them well to the readers and to the culture specific items, and Al-Zahar is one of them. I hope I was able to answer.
Questions? Any more questions?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, and I'd like first to thank you, Dr. Samah, really for this valuable lecture.
Yes, Dr. Good evening.
Okay, and good evening, Dr.
Yeah,
Really, nuances of language. That's great. I just okay. I have one question, Dr. Najla. Really, I was inquiring about the synonyms in the translation. Synonyms in Quran. You know that it's very there are very slight differences between words. For example, the word haraba. It's escaped in English or run away. So we have haraba, nasa, فنادى ولا حين مناص وأن ظننا أن لن نعجز الله في الأرض ولن نعجزه هربا وإذ أبق إلى الفلك المشحون وفرت من قسورة. These are synonyms So how can the translator deal with these synonyms? That's it was a question I was asking myself about. So can you elaborate something about this?
Yes, as you said,
Thank you.
you're welcome. As you said that we have many synonyms, but synonymy is not the only way or approach that can be used by Quran translators when they translate. But the most important thing is to give the accurate meaning, to transfer and convey the meaning. So they have to consider the context. The contextual meaning is very important. And if we don't have a direct equivalent or a direct synonym, so we have many other tools, paraphrasing, description, expansion, addition, omission. So have many tools that they can apply. But the most important thing is the contextual meaning. We have to follow the meaning based on the context. And we can use, that's why we don't say that this translation is right and this is wrong. They are all right, but this translator has a way and an approach and some tools, and the other one has another approach and different tools. But at the end, we have the meaning is conveyed correctly. That's why when Al-Azhar Asdar or issued this fatwa that it is not the translation of the Quran is not the Quran. It is the interpretation of the meaning of the Quran. So, as you know, Al-Quran is Hammal al-Mahanin, as they say. It can be interpreted differently. I can read it today with a meaning. I'm happy, and tomorrow I'm sad, or I have a different situation. I can hear the message in the surah or the ayah. I can read it later on, and I can have another meaning, another message. So we have different meanings. It can be interpreted differently. But again, the most important point is to follow the contextual meaning. Okay.
Yes. Great. Thanks a lot. Yes. Thanks a lot, Dr. Najla, for illustration.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Dr. Najla, thank you for such an enriching session.
Thank you.
Enlightening session. As a non-Arab, I don't understand Arabic, so I read translation of Quran in order to understand it. So what point should I keep in mind while I'm reading the different translations? I mean, how could I really want to understand like whatever is being said in Quran, but how do I do it?
Okay, but in the first place, Ms. Khadija, I think that the good translation, you have to be guided to choose the good one that doesn't include any ideologies or negative messages or meant to be to have some ideologies actually to know that we have many theological different theological beliefs, and Muslims can be a Muslim Sunni, and the Sunni could be Ash'ari, could be Maturidi, could be Salafi, could be even Sufi. And we have some people who translated the Quran who are Shia, and we respect all of them, and we are all Muslims. We don't say that this is right or this is wrong. We are not gods. But for you, it is important to know the theological beliefs of the translator. And for you also to be exposed to different theological beliefs, different translations. And I think the more the translations we have, the more that we learn and we know about the Quran and about Muslims and their beliefs also. So I think based on my reading of different and many translations, I can say that in India they prefer the translation to some extent Sufi translations. This is what I realized, Yani. But you can read different translations, and it is important to read for translators who are experts. Translators who translated the Quran in groups, not a work of one individual person. Because in Quran translation, we need a translator. We need someone who knows Arabic very well, who knows English very well, who knows tafsir, who knows fiqh, who knows even history, some historical events. We should make sure that he knows them very well. So I think the choice should be very important, and read different ones until you find yourself in one of them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hello, Dr. Najla. Good evening,
Good
everybody.
evening.
I was wondering if there is an official authority that accredits those interpretations. And we know that even the printing of the Holy Quran is accredited in official bodies in Saudi Arabia,
Yes,
or in official bodies in Al-Azhar. Would these interpretations of the Holy Quran go through the same scrutiny and accreditation process that that even the original manuscripts of the Holy Quran is having? Thank you.
You're welcome, Habibi. Yes, we have in Saudi Arabia Majma al-Malik Fahd, Mushaf al-Madina, and these translations, we say authorized translations, translation mujaza, like the translation that we have in Al-Haram, and the online ones by Majma al-Malik Fahd, we say authorized translation. And in Egypt, we have authorized translations also from Al-Azhar. But I wrote many articles, many journals about some other translations actually who are not authorized, غير مجازة. Only like Bakhtiyar, the one I chose today, who didn't rely on any tafsir or exegesis. She was a translator, she was the publisher, she was the editor, she was everything in her translation, as long as she had enough money to publish her translation. I don't say that the intention was bad. No, she was Christian. Actually, her mom was American and her dad was Irani. She lived with her mom till she became 19 years old. She went to Iran, where they told her after she became 24 years old that your father is Irani, Shia, Muslim, so you are Muslim. And she started studying hard, and she studied a lot, actually, Arabic, fiqh, Sharia. The intention was good, but the translation actually needs to be authorized and needs to be read by other people who can say that yes, we can publish it and give it to people to read it or not. Because I found her translation moving between Sunnah and Shia, Sufa, Ja'fariya, Arifaniya, Maturidiyya. So as the translator herself, and the mixed marriage of the parents, and her life in America, in Iran, here and there, we have also as if many Qur'ans in her Qur'an translation. So we have, yes, we have this Majma al-Malik Fahd in Saudi Arabia and Al-Azhar in Egypt, but we aim to have in each country actually an institute that can be or will be able to review such translations, inshallah, in the future, inshallah. We aim to have. I hope I answered.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any more questions? Right. I think we'll call it a night. So on this note and with this item, we come to the end of our first session. Like I said, we have another session coming up at the top of the hour. I think we are already at the top of the hour. We're going to give people a 5 to 10 minutes, a 5 to 10 minute break, and then we meet for people who are interested in professional development. This is going to be me. I'm giving my 5th workshop on teacher training, of course, TEFL and TESOL and everything in between. Thank you so much, and I'll see you. Thank you so much, Dr. Najla, of course. It was such an informing and engaging kind of workshop. And I'm sure we will have more opportunities in the future, to have you with us. You're already with us. You're teaching with us part-time, and we appreciate all your efforts. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll meet in 10 minutes, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam. Thank you so much.
Dr. Saleh, are you using the same link?
Inshallah, Dr. Rani. Yeah,